I want to start by just giving you an idea of how many boots I've collected over the years that I've actually kept and still used. This is them, and some of these boots are from the 70s, because back in the 70s they actually used to make boots that didn't wear out because they had a lot more rubber in them. I'll talk about that later. But I've got Red Balls, I've got Baffins, there's Rockies, there's Mucks, several Lacrosse, some new dry shods, Lacrosse waders, some Hodgman breathable waders. I got some Danner boots over there for elk hunting, which is a different type of boot than for deer hunting. Just a lot of different types of boots, and I wear boots for different, obviously different weather conditions and for different purposes. Some of them I like specific soles on them, and some of them I like, you know, a more aggressive sole. Some I like just nice, relatively smooth tire soles on them. So anyway, I'm going to go through these one by one to let the viewers know, you know, what boots are best for what conditions and what are the best value of boots nowadays, because boots have definitely changed over the last 40 years, that's for sure. I'm going to do a short addendum on the boots. Did a podcast with a guy, Tracy Breen, a few weeks ago, and after the podcast we were talking. I've known him for over 20 years. And he mentioned this company called Gumleaf USA. And I've always, if you watch the boot video, you'll see that I have some major complaints with all the rubber boots made nowadays. I don't care what the brand is, because they've really lowered their specs as far as how much rubber they use. All the boots now are using 30 to 50% rubber in a rubber boot, whereas, you know, the Red Balls and the Lacrosse rubber boots I have from the 70s, I'm still wearing because they had 80% rubber. So anyway, while we were talking, I looked up Gumleaf USA online, and I was looking at these boots, and they have 85% latex rubber in them. I mean, you can tell when you feel them, when you smell them, which is not a good thing because they do have a stronger rubber smell, but you can tell how much rubber they have in them. They're just extremely well made. They're made in the United Kingdom. They're not made in the Orient like everybody else's boots. They're not gonna, because they have 85% latex rubber in them, you're not gonna get dry rotting and cracking like you're getting out of the Tascas and some other brands that, you know, don't have a whole lot of rubber. They actually use fillers. They use clay. Most of them use clay as a filler. And that's why the boots end up cracking after a few years and dry rotting. So these won't do that. These are going to be just like my Red Ball boots from the 70s, which I'm still wearing, 50 years old. These are going to last a long, long time. And again, they're made in the United Kingdom, and they're handmade. So they're very well made, and they're made that way so that they have a better fit. And these are actually designed, they started building these boots in 1936. And in Europe, they do a lot of upland bird hunting, and that's what these boots are actually designed for, which also makes them have a better fit, because when you're bird hunting, you're doing a lot of walking, so they have to have a better fit. They're a little bit snugger around the ankle, they fit better on the calf. They're just a lot better fit boot than the brands that you get in the USA now. And I talked to the owner of this company, and I was just out of deal. He sent me a PO for this donor, if you will. And he's going to give everybody a 10% discount, and it's going to last for like 3 years if you use the word, if you go online to buy a pair, you can only go online, the word Eberhart gives you a 10% discount. And they're not cheap. The lowest price point boot, and again, it's an 85% latex rubber boot. It's $240 retail, so you get $24 off of it. They have 4 or 5 different models. They have 4mm Neoprene liners on the inside, so it's very comfortable. They have 5mm Neoprene filters in the soles. They also have the soles are also, they're stitched in. They're not just something that's laying in like a lot of insoles and boots. They're stitched in, so they're never going to come out. They have really nice, vibrant soles, not overly aggressive. But yet some aggressive at a point, but not overly. And they're too high in models, actually. Side gussets, which are obviously waterproof, and they go down quite far. You know, a lot of gussets just kind of low runners. These are side gussets. The zippers
so they fit really well. They're snug, they're just really, really tight.
And the side gussets are also made out of canvas, not just some, Cordura, some cheap
strap. They're made out of canvas. I can't really
say enough about
these. This part is $350, but the same exact boot
without the gusset is $240. And there's no PVC in them. All of the seams are overlapped and stitched twice, so basically you got a lot better stitching on the interior of the boot, so it's not going to come apart like a lot of other boots do. And if you want to get the best way to get the order on a new boot, I don't care what brand it is to actually, if you got a roll or you got some sort of a something that has dirt in it, it's got a dirt floor, dig a hole or put these bits in the wheelbarrow and then fill the wheelbarrow up with dirt so that it comes just up to the top of the throat. And let's leave it there for a while, because that direct dirt to boot contact will get rid of the odor quicker than anything else. It's not going to totally another way to get rid of the odor on a pair of boots, totally. 70-year-old boots have some faint odor to them,
but you don't want it now, so it's not as strong. Just keep taking anything else. You're also keeping in the fit is going to be much better because the boots made
for bow hunting
is very lightly for fit. You would rather take
a pair of bow hunting boots, rubber boots or neoprene boots, and wear them upland bird hunting, you're going to be walking all day, because it would just be uncomfortable. You'd have sore spots on some parts of your foot. It's designed to fit your foot. These are designed for a lot of walking, so obviously they're going to be comfortable when you're sitting as well. The name of the company is Gumleaf. Gumleaf Europe has been in business since 1936, so Gumleaf USA is basically the distributorship that imports them from the United Kingdom and sells them into the United States. Thank you for your time. This one, again, I think will be interesting because I got a lot of old stuff and I got some new stuff here, and it's basically going to be on boots. What boots are best for what brands of boots are the best, what are the best value, and I'm going to start with something that's a little bit of a misperception. If you're bow hunting for whitetails, ambush hunting for anything actually that you're hunting an animal that relies on their sense of smell, you want to get boots that are going to be scent free. So you need something that's rubber neoprene or a mix of neoprene, PVC, and rubber or whatever. When you're hunting out west, because the downside of these rubber kind of scent free boots, they don't have any ankle support. They're terrible. I mean, I wouldn't even consider wearing them on an elk hunt or a spot and stalk mule deer hunt or a spot and stalk, even a whitetail hunt out west, because they just don't have the ankle support for long walks and walking on rocks and walking up mountains and down mountains, which I've done and shot a couple elk. So when you're out west hunting boots, you want something that's going to have a lot of ankle support. So you're going to want something that laces. Either it's going to be a leather or a Cordura exterior. You want it to be a good boot. You don't want to buy a cheap boot if you're going to go out elk hunting. Now these are Danners. I bought these in the mid '90s. They were made in America at that time, and I've used these several times on elk hunts and for other things as well. And then these are some higher end. They're obviously ankle high as opposed to, I'm sorry, these are calf high as opposed to these are ankle high. But this type of boot has a lot of ankle support. So you definitely want something with good arches, good ankle support. If you're going to be out west on anything that's spot and stalk, we're going to be walking long distances, especially if you're in rocky mountainous terrain. You have to have something like that. And this here is another one. This is kind of a little inexpensive one, but this actually has a pack in it. So this here is another walking boot, but it's for a little bit colder weather. Now for bow hunting, which is what I do exclusively, you have rubber, and rubber's kind of old school. It's still around, but you're seeing a lot more neoprene, and muck is the one that started that. You got muck, bogs, and dry shod. Lacrosse makes some nice neoprene boots. And then you have hybrids, which both of these are. This one here is a hybrid neoprene, a rubber. This one's, I believe, is neoprene PVC. So these are all, none of these boots breathe. So you're not going to have any odor coming outside of these boots other than at the throat. And when you buy a new pair of boots, I don't care what kind they are, if they're neoprene, PVC, or rubber, they're going to have a pretty strong odor to them. And if you're hunting smart whitetails, mature whitetails, especially in the eastern states where there's a lot of hunting pressure, every little detail like that matters. So I will when I buy a pair of new boots, I usually won't wear them for at least a year. And I'll put them in an outside garage or something, just set them up on a shelf and let them kind of air out. If you buy a new pair of boots and you want to get rid of the odor as quick as you possibly can, take a wheelbarrow. If you got a wheelbarrow sitting around, fill it up with dirt, and then take your boots and bury them in the dirt, or you can just dig a hole in the yard. If you got a backyard with some area, you can just dig a hole and put the boots in the dirt, like almost up to the throat. This is the throat of the boot. This is where you put your foot in, obviously. So because when it has direct contact with dirt, it'll suck the odor out of that rubber, neoprene, or PVC much, much quicker. So that's what I suggest to do for a quick fix on getting as much of the odor out of the actual boot itself as you possibly can. Now I'm going to go through the different models of boots. Okay, okay, I got the match for this. I got some other boots. Basically, okay, I got the match for that red ball rubber boot, and I brought up some other rubber boots, and these are all from the 70s, possibly early 80s. And back in those days, they made boots with a really high rubber content, so they didn't dry rot. And so basically, when you're walking, you usually have a crease right up here in the front of the boot. When you're taking a step forward, there's a crease. And usually there's a crease here in the back. And these are all, some of these boots are almost 50 years old. And they still don't have crease marks. They've got marks on the side from going up and down trees like that, you know, just from rubbing on the bark. But they do not have crease marks. Now, this is a pair of Browning boots that I bought in the mid to late 90s. And I wore these like 3 years hunting, and then they wore out. Basically, Browning doesn't make boots themselves. These companies all made their own boots. Browning sourced them. And the rubber just wasn't as high a rubber content. They added a lot of clay to them, and they dry rot quicker. So as you can see, these have been repaired up here in this seam on both boots. So and those are Browning, which is a brand name. So when you're buying boots, try to buy boots from a manufacturer that's been around for a while. But all of the manufacturers nowadays have kind of de-spec'd their boots from what they used to be like. And when I say de-spec, I mean they've back in the 90s, Walmart sourced boots through Rocky. Rocky made a Cornstalker boot. It was really, I mean, it was the most popular boot out there. It was a Cordura upper with a rubber bottom, and they were made in the USA. And when Walmart sourced them from Rocky, it was just monstrous business. So Rocky had to de-spec the boots. They took some of the specifications out of the boots. They lowered the content of rubber in them. They downgraded the stitching. They downgraded the Cordura, and basically, so that they could sell them to Walmart at a lower price. They took their manufacturing offshore, which is what's happening and what we're struggling with today so much. Because offshore you get inferior products, especially if it's coming out of China or the Orient someplace. So, you know, you get a pair, you look at like a Tascas. I bought a Tasca boots, and they're really popular. There's lots of stores carry a Tasca. I can't get a season out of a pair of Tascas. They just dry rot. And basically on the shelf, if they're 2 years old on the shelf, you'll see they start to turn gray because they've got so much clay mixed in with the rubber. So, you know, I'd never buy a pair of Tasca boots. There's absolutely no way. But there are still some great boots, but they are de-spec'd from what they used to be. I'm still wearing these boots. I'm still wearing these lacrosse rubber boots. Got two pair of lacrosse here. These here have, well, they both have 800 grams of thin slit. I also have some with 200 grams. These red balls had 200 grams of thin slit in them. But I'm still wearing them. And they're 40, all of them are 40 years old, and they have had no signs of dry rotting whatsoever. So make sure you get what you pay for, just like anything else. You know, if you buy cheap boots, wow, that's a nice value. That's a $59 pair of 800-gram thin slit rubber boots. Well, you're getting a $59 pair of boots instead of buying something nice from Lacrosse or something that's going to be $129. I'm going to bring up some neoprene boots now, show you the difference. Okay, now these are all neoprene boots, and I have other neoprene boots in the garage. They're up in my rafters. They're still brand new. They're airing out because one of the downsides of neoprenes are light. They're extremely lightweight. They're awesome for hunting. They're not that great for scouting because they rip very easily. And there's an example. These here, I just started wearing these last year, and this year when I was scouting, I ripped a hole in them. Just something protruded through. If anybody that fishes wears neoprene waders, you obviously know how easy it is to puncture neoprene. Now these are not quite as easy as waders because the neoprene's a lot heavier, but they still puncture easy. So, and you can tell I wear these hunting much more so than I wear them scouting, because you can see where I went up the side of the tree, the rough bark's wearing the sides of the boot out. But these wear very well, and if you wear them just for hunting, they're going to last you a long, long time. Because typically when you go hunting, you've got a route that you're on. When you're scouting, you're bucking through brush. If you're hunting public land, you're going through brush, going over deadfalls, going over dead branches and stuff, and you're going to poke holes in the things if you're scouting for mature bucks where you got to get back in the security cover. So neoprene are absolutely awesome boots. I wear them anytime it's above 30 degrees out. I've got on neoprene boots. Below 30, I never wear them. My feet get cold too quick. But neoprene are awesome. Mucks, dry shod, Lacrosse. There's a pair of dry shods, and these are just their standard weight. They make heavier weight. That's a standard weight muck. That's a standard weight dry shod. Now this here is this is a Lacrosse, Alpha Burleys. These are a little bit heavier weight, and they actually have a fabric over top of the neoprene, which makes them a lot less puncture resistant. So you're going to pay more for these, but they're definitely worth it. They're still lightweight. They're PVC outers, which is PVC and rubber, kind of similar. PVC is a little lighter than rubber, and you don't have to worry as much about the clay content deal. But these are awesome boots. And then on the muck side, you know, they make a little bit of an upgrade, which is an Arctic Sport, and then they make an Arctic Pro. And I number my boots. As you can see here, this one has a 2 on it. This neoprene muck says new, because I had some old ones when I bought this, so I wrote new on the top so I would know what are the 2 that go to the pair. Because when you get several sets of the same exact model boot and you wear them for a few years, you get them mixed up which one goes with which. Not that that really matters, but I like them to wear evenly. So like this pair of Arctic Pro, I have another pair of Arctic Pro and they say 1 on them. So this here is the 2 set. But these green mucks, which are their standard weight, you know, I'll wear them down to maybe 40 degrees. When it gets down 25, 30 in there, I'll wear these Arctic Pros. And if it's going to be 35, 45, I'll typically wear these Arctic Sports. Arctic Sports are a little bit warmer than the standard. I don't remember the model. Oh, it's Edgewater. And then the Arctic Pros are a little bit warmer than the Arctic Sports. And again, you get what you pay for. All 3 of these are excellent brands. Muck, dry shod, Lacrosse, you can't go wrong with them. But if you can get a pair of cheap Itascas to do your scouting in. Because they are rubber, they're not going to puncture as easy. They're going to dry rot fast, but they're not going to puncture as easy. So if you can, get some rubber boots for doing all your scouting and location preparation. And when you get mucks, because they're so comfortable to wear when you're hunting, just wear them hunting. And another thing to look for is look at the soles. You know, this one here, I kind of like soles like this for bow hunting, because I hunt out of a saddle exclusively. And this here has like a little tire sole. It's not a real deep, aggressive sole. This one here is kind of similar. It's a little bit more aggressive, but I'm going to show you when we get into some of these other boots, like that has a little bit more of an aggressive sole. Well, the more aggressive the sole, typically that means the thicker the sole, the thicker the sole of the boot. So the thicker the sole, the more the boot weighs. Now, for saddle hunting, I like these because they're not aggressive. When you have aggressive soles that have big cleats in the bottom, they tend to pick up dirt and mud and weeds. I don't know how many times I've gotten up in my tree and I'm standing on my steps and I look down at my feet and I got weeds sticking out the side of my boot, and I lift my foot up and I got mud in the cleats. And when you're moving around the tree to get a shot, a lot of times, if some of that mud falls off while you move your feet and it goes down and clicks on the ground, it could potentially cost you an opportunity. It hasn't done that for me yet, but when I'm up in the tree and I know some stuff stuck in the soles of my boots that could potentially fall off, you know, I kick them against the tree whenever I have the opportunity to knock as much of it off as I possibly can. So we're going to get out of those for a while. Okay, now that I got my table all dirty, I'm getting a little bit warm. By the way, it's May and it's snowed here twice today, but it's still, the sun's out, so it's pretty nice. And I'm in central Michigan. Now I'm going to show you pack boots. Pack boots are a big, big deal. There's a lot of guys that say, well, I've got some lacrosse and they're 1,200 gram thinsulate or 2,000 gram thinsulate. I don't care how many thinsulate they are, if they're actually, the thinsulate is in the body of the boot itself, it's not going to keep your feet warm like a pack boot will. And I'm going to show you what I mean on that. Okay, this is almost a joke. These are pack boots from the 70s and 60s. Now, I used to wear these hunting in the 70s, and this is a pack boot. These are Sorels, and any of you old timers out there, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now all I use these for is I put these ice grippers on them in the winter and, you know, shovel snow and ice and stuff like that. But this is where pack boots originated, right here. I believe Sorel was the first company to make a pack boot. John Eberhart, hope you've enjoyed the Eberhart Outdoor videos, and please remember to like and subscribe. And if you've got any topics that you'd like us to do a video on, something in the outdoors, put that in a comment, and we are going to look through all those comments and we will definitely consider them. And I hope everybody has a great one. The goal is to make everybody a better hunter, better fisherman, and God bless.